In accordance with the provisions allowed by Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, the September 15, 2021 public meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee will be held remotely. However, to view this meeting in progress, please go to facebook.com/LakeCAM. You do not need a Facebook account to view this meeting. This meeting will be recorded and available to be viewed later, viewed at a later date at Lakeville on LakeCAM. So I'd like to take and see who's here tonight. So Rodney Dixon, James Rogers, Rita Garbett, Jack Lynch, Joseph Chamberlain, and then we have guests, Michelle McEachern, and is Susan Spire on yet?
I am.
There she is. Hi, Susan.
Hi, I don't know what happened. I just lost the meeting, but I'm back.
No, that's okay. We were just taking roll call and just making sure that you and Michelle are here. So thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Oh, thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. So we have 8 agenda items this evening. We're going to start with agenda item number 1, and that's to review and vote to approve the August 9th, 2021 meeting minutes. Has everyone had the opportunity to review?
Yep.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Garbett, move to approve the August 9th meeting minutes.
Anyone second?
Second.
Was that, who was that?
Joseph.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So all in favor, Rodney Dixon, aye.
Garbett, aye.
Chamberlain, aye.
Eckledge, aye.
Did we lose Jim Rogers?
We did. He's coming back in right now.
Okay. There you go. So Jim, I'm not sure if you heard meeting minutes. There was a motion, it was seconded, and we were going through the approval. You are on mute at this point, and if you could unmute, or maybe if that's not possible, if you could type in your answer. Okay, can we wait one moment, Rita, until Jim gets situated?
Yep.
Okay, I would second, I would approve the minutes.
Awesome, thank you very much. So meeting minutes approved unanimously. Appreciate that. Okay. Next agenda item, discuss changing the meeting dates and schedules for October, November, and December. This request came up because one of our members, Patrick Marshall, is unable to attend the meeting dates and times. So I put it before the committee. Would we be willing to adjust these next few months, the meeting dates and times? Yes, Rita.
I did look at the schedule for the planning board and Concom, and it looks like they meet Concom meets the 2nd and 4th Tuesday, and planning board meets the 2nd and 4th Thursday. And I did talk to Ari, and Tuesdays were all right for him. And I'm thinking maybe if it's all right with everybody, maybe the 3rd Tuesday of the month instead of the 3rd Wednesday.
3rd Tuesday would work for me.
Jim or Jack, does it work for you?
3rd Tuesday would be fine for me.
Okay, and it is fine for me too. Jack?
Fine by me. Yes, it's fine by me.
Okay, so Rita, procedurally, do we have to have a motion to approve?
I don't think we don't have to vote on it. We'll just...
Okay. All right, great.
You set the dates though, correct?
Yeah.
What is the date?
So it would be October 19th, November 16th, And December 21st,
Okay, can you repeat those one more time, please?
October 19th,
Yeah,
November 16th,
okay.
and December 21st.
Okay, thank
And
you.
still virtual as far as we know.
I know the selectmen is still meeting virtually.
So
And-
is the meeting virtually, is that a mass regulation or an edict from the governor?
I don't know. I know that to go into town hall now, you have to wear a mask again.
Concom's, our last two meetings have been in person in the police station.
Well, that would be another, I don't know of what other committees meet on Tuesday. We'd have to find, I could talk to Ari about what's available for meeting space.
Yeah, if we could, because this is getting old. Let's call it what it is. We sit here, however many, what, a year and a half into this, and we need to meet in person. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be better for all. Just this meeting is nice, but to be in person will be better. So if the opportunity presents itself, I would prefer that we meet in person.
All right, I'll call Ari and find out what building's available.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. Item number 3, discuss scheduling a presentation of the Community Preservation Act. Well, we happen to have, Michelle McGeckern and Susan Speiler here who with us tonight that are subject matter experts on this. And if we are amenable to have Michelle and Susan give us an abbreviated presentation, if that's, and maybe answer some questions if anyone on Facebook is interested. So let me give this disclaimer first before Michelle and or Susan present. The Master Plan Implementation Committee does not support nor oppose the CPA. CPA is part of the master plan, and as such, we give the opportunity for the subject matter experts to enlighten us and to give us a little bit additional information. So to be clear, this committee does not endorse or oppose the CPA. Rather, this is for informational purposes only. Okay. So Susan or Michelle, would one of you like to give us an overview of the CPA, please?
Sure thing. Ronnie, do you mind if I share my screen?
I do not. Please go ahead.
All right. Can you see that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, very good. So the Community Preservation Act, or CPA, is a smart growth tool that enables towns to create a fund for the sole purpose of supporting capital projects related to open space, historic preservation, and affordable housing. Oh, sorry, okay. Not working. We'll do it that way. There are 187 communities in Massachusetts that have adopted a CPA, which equates to 53% of the state's municipalities. The towns which have adopted a CPA are indicated in green, and the cities are in orange. This fund would be established via vote at town meeting, followed by a vote via ballot question in the spring. Once adopted, the fund must support the 3 categories of open space, historic preservation, and affordable housing. This slide shows the distribution of the funds, which would be 10% for open space, 10% for historic preservation, and 10% for affordable housing, with the remaining 70% to be used towards any of those categories. There is also a state match, which means the state contributes anywhere from 11 to 52%, and that percentage varies from year to year. In 2021, it is projected at 32.3%, which is a great return on investment. By using CPA funds to preserve historic artifacts, we would have been able to, I think I'm on the wrong slide, I'm sorry. By using CPA funds to preserve historical artifacts, we would have been able to obtain and preserve the iron lung machine that the Historic Commission was interested in from the former Lakeville Hospital, or any number of the historic homes in town that have been demolished. CPA can be used to create affordable senior housing that works for our town, rather than Chapter 40B, which only requires 20% affordable units and steamrolls our town bylaws. Another great plus to the CPA is you can use the funds to actually retain existing affordable units in perpetuity, rather than see them fall off the housing stock. The state provides matching funds, which is based on the percentage the town contributes. So for the 1% that we contribute, the town will be eligible to receive the first round of matching funds from the state. In 2020, the match was 28.6%, and it is projected at 32.3% for 2021. This low 1% tax would show up on our real estate tax bills, with the first 100,000 of each home and business valuation being excluded. There will also be an exclusion for low and moderate income families and seniors. Other towns send out the yearly exemption application form along with the tax bills, which is what we would be looking to do. The coalition projected the average home in Lakeville to contribute $39 per year, and our assessor's office projected the yearly charge to be $38 per year, which is very affordable. Although this is included as a tax, the money does not go to the federal or state government and disappear. It stays here in town, and it goes directly into the CPA fund, where it can only be used for the specific purposes of preserving open space, historic, and affordable housing. A few examples of how a CPA fund could be used in town. One example that comes to mind for me is when I first joined planning board last year, the Howland Road property, which abuts conservation land, when it was taken out of Chapter 61 protection, it ended up approved as a 4-lot subdivision because the town did not have available funds to purchase the property. A CPA fund would allow properties like this to remain protected in perpetuity. If adopted via town meeting, CPA would then show up as a spring ballot question. Then a committee would be formed to create a plan which would take public opinion to direct any proposed capital projects. Most towns use a simple application form that can be used to submit project ideas. Then the committee would bring the projects to town meeting so the residents could then vote on what projects they want to use the funds for. This tool really puts the power into the hands of our residents. Another piece of the CPA is that it can leverage additional available funds from other grant programs. If you look at the town of Newton, the town put in $425,000. They received a state match of $425,000. And then they were able to leverage the funds to gain additional $3,167,000 from HUD for senior housing. Something like that could be a huge help to build towards our affordable home quota and allow our seniors to stay in town. So that's the end of my presentation. Sorry if it was a little wonky. I wasn't quite prepared, but if there's any more information anyone should, like to get, we do have a email they can direct questions to. So and we also have a Facebook page. So you could email lakevillecpa@gmail.com, or you can search on Facebook for Community Preservation for Lakeville.
Thank you very much for that. Greatly appreciate it. Sorry to put you on the spot. We appreciate your flexibility and doing the presentation with very little or no notice. But thank you. So I have a couple of questions with regards to the information.
Sure.
So the reimbursement from the state, is it tied to state revenue or financial indicators such as inflation or other indicators?
So the fund that the state has is generated by sales of real property throughout the state. So every real estate transaction puts in money to this fund, and only if a town or city has a CPA are we eligible for those funds. So without a CPA, we can't get any of that money back. With a CPA, at the 1%, that makes us eligible for the first round. So a CPA, it can be up to 3%, but we're looking for just the 1%, the lowest amount, so that we can receive a state match back. So if you go the higher percentage, you do get more funds because you'll be eligible for the additional rounds of distribution. So this
you're talking about the tax. So right now, if just to be clear, on your presentation, there was a 1% proposal, but it could go up to 3%.
No, absolutely not. Nope. So it would be 1%, and that's what it would stay for the entirety, unless any, it would have to go through the same process of going through town meeting and then the ballot in order for
right. But so let me restate the question. The proposition is at 1%, but you have the option to say initially we could go 1%, 2%, or 3%.
So if we wanted to try for a 3%, that's what we would, have come, brought to the town and proposed. Yeah. We just didn't think that was, had any shot, at all. So that's why we're just looking for the basic, the 1%, which allows the town to be eligible for that first round of distribution.
Okay. A couple of more questions, and I apologize. So on the properties that would come available if the town passes the CPA and the CPA funds are used to purchase property, mm-hmm. Are the properties based on market value or assessed value? So like say something comes up for sale and they say to the town, you've got first dibs, you've got the CPA, we want X. Is whatever X based on the owners, like this is what I want versus what it's worth, or is there an actual formula predicated on market value or assessed value?
So when the town has the option of this right of first refusal, so when a property comes out of the Chapter 61 protection, they need to have a confirmed offer. So they already have to have an offer on the table. I believe it's a purchase and sale even, to bring to the town and say, this is what, we've been offered, and will the town match it? So it is a fair market value. Okay, thanks. And then finally,
Rodney?
Yes, ma'am.
The town has the option to have an appraisal done on it too.
That was my, you beat me to it. Okay. That was going to be my follow-up question. And then I have a final question, and thank you for that clarification. I think that's actually that's actually really good, because if someone comes to us and says, hey, we have an offer for $2 million, but we say, hold on, we think it's a little steep. Let's go out and get an evaluation. It comes at like 1.5. Yeah. Then, I think it would be better. All right, so the money comes into the town through that 1%, which is roughly $37, less than $40 on the tax, right? Roughly 30 something. Who actually controls? I know you said we vote on to how we spend it, but who actually has fiduciary responsibility of the funds? Where's the money?
So there would be a committee, a 9-member committee that's formed. And that committee would then be responsible for, reporting on a yearly basis. It would all be, very visible and available to, track as well, because it does need to be done in a certain manner.
All right, so are committee members elected or are they appointed?
So currently right now, there is CPC language on our general bylaws. It does need to be tweaked if the CPA passes, because it includes a member from the housing authority, which Lakeville does not have a housing authority. So a town like Plimpton is the same sort of situation. They don't have a housing authority. They have somebody from the COA, or the equivalent of a COA, who sits on their committee because of that senior housing portion of it, to get the input from the seniors. So it would be a member of Concom, open space, historic, parks, planning board, and then the other to be appointed, whether it's COA or whomever, whatever. Okay. I think COA does make sense to me. That's what I would urge. And then 3 members from the public at large. Okay, great. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Sorry for so many questions, but I have a question from Rita.
I was just going to say, Rodney, the funds are under the control of the town treasurer.
Okay. So the treasurer is the fiduciary responsible party, and then the committee to be formed, they would be the decision makers. How the money?
They'll make recommendations to town.
Recommendations, got it. Okay.
Town meeting approves, votes on how it's going to be spent.
So just like, whenever there's expense and we get the finance committee, and we, at the town meeting, does a finance committee have a recommendation? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, cool. Thanks. Anybody else have any questions?
I do.
Sure. No, please. Michelle,
the funds generated for the state, isn't it the recording fees at the registry from the sale of property?
I know that it happens at the.
Yeah, I think it's from all the recording fees.
It is. Yep.
It is.
Thank you.
And one thing I wanted to say about leveraging our funds too is, for instance, if a golf course came up for sale and town meeting did approve, if we exercised our right of first refusal and we went to town meeting for the funding and a bond was approved, you can use the funds every year to pay the debt service on the bond.
Thank you, Rita. Yes, that's another portion of this too.
Okay. Now, if my memory serves, this has failed, is it 1 or 2 times at town meeting?
It did pass the first time.
It did,
through town meeting, but then failed at the ballot, and then
that's
the second
what it was.
time it failed at the town meeting.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, I think it's about education, and if those that have obviously participated in this committee and those that have watched these meetings, they know that we want to educate and be transparent, warts and all, as we say in the business, and let the voters make an informed decision. So thank you for that. I appreciate. I'm sorry for the Spanish Inquisition, but I think it's important that these questions are asked and we get honest answers. And again, this committee does not you know, support or condone or endorse, I should say, endorse or,
Opposed.
you know, oppose. Thank you. It's been a long day. But yeah, so we would encourage people to ask more questions, you know, seek out the presentation, go to the aforementioned areas to place those questions and get the answers. So when it does come time that people can vote pretty confidently that they have all the information that they need to make an informed decision. So, yeah, much appreciated. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Rogers. Thank you. I put my glasses on so I can see who's waving at me.
Oh, good. The one thing I wanted to mention with this situation is people say, okay, well, you know, why are they invited to make a presentation at the session? If we go back last year, this group spent months in small group meetings, with town meetings and visitations with people. And the one thing we heard was for the town to look at such things as keep a rural character, preservation of some of the assets, development and control of the growth in this area. And this is one of those tools that the people in town can use if they so choose. And that's why I think it's important for us to say, look, they're a foundation, an underlying of the our committee group and our report. And I think it's important that people know and understand that. I understand Rodney's position. We're not for it or against it as a group, but I think it's important people understand why they were invited.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. And the invitation goes to, yes, Michelle, give me one moment. The invitation goes to anybody who has a vested interest in the master plan or how Lakeville is going to look in the future. We welcome all comers. So thank you. Michelle, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to say, you know, bouncing off of what, you know, Jim just said, the whole reason that we ended up here is because, you know, the hospital project, as the permits coordinator for that, I was bombarded by, you know, residents who were very strongly opposed, and Sue being, you know, one of the people, and the other ladies in the group, honestly, this is a tool to really do what so many people were saying they wanted done. So I feel like this is the opportunity. I know it's come before the town before. It may be under different circumstances, but I think it's a tool. It gives the townspeople a better say of what, you know, can be protected if that's what they want to do. It also gives a separate fund aside from just the town budget. So yes, we have a town budget. Yes, there's certain ways of doing things currently, but we all know, being involved in town government, what that process is. And having this fund actually sets it aside for a specific purpose, which means it will be, I don't want to say expedited, but it'll be more easy to make that happen, you know, with something like this, and the matching funds and the other opportunities from that. So. Right.
And so we look at the cost benefit, the return on investment, whatever term one would like to use. So we call it what it is. It's a tax. People don't like taxes. We feel that we're heavily taxed. But we have to see where the money goes. And I like that you said that it's easier, and it's also earmarked where it doesn't go into a general fund as our taxes do. And then we have the budget, which then there's mandatory things that are spent, monies that are spent, that you know, we just have no control over. And, you know, we gripe about it as taxpayers, but I think moving forward, if all things considered equal, that is a really good piece of information that, hey, listen, yes, it is a tax. However, it's this size and it's earmarked, so it's controlled. So I think that's a good you know, that's actually a good bit of information for people to understand. So yeah, so thank you. put my glasses on so I can see if anyone else is raising their hands.
I just have one more thing.
Yes. Hi, Susan. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that we also have a bunch of informational meetings coming up. We'll probably post them on our Facebook page, but we're going to different local businesses and just having like 2 hours or so and setting up a table, and people can come and just bombard us with questions.
Okay.
And, a lot of people did show up the last time we had one, just wanting to know what the signs are all about, and please explain what this is about.
Jim Rogers is the sign king, by the way. So, Mr. Chamberlain, go ahead, please.
Being on the Conservation Commission for the past 44 years and all the signs going up in front of my house, I get a lot of questions about this. And I have a very short response. Most people think that it's going to cost them gazillions of dollars. And my response to them is, each year is going to cost you less than a tank of gas for your pickup truck or your SUV. And they go, oh, because they somehow think it's $100 a month or something like that. Education, I think, is the key. Okay, then you can get further on the benefits and so forth. But the understanding what it is first. Yes, as you say, it is a tax, but a teeny one. And the payback on the investment is colossal.
Well, again, for the opportunity, and Rita had hit the nail on the head. And Jim, listen, this is a tool. Michelle too. This is a tool to meet the aspirational goals of the master plan, and these things that we want. And we'll get into it in a little bit about the matrix as we segue into that, about who's the responsible party and things of that nature. Well, we can look at that as maybe as a responsible party, where it's the CPA that will allow us to do some of the things that are in the master plan. And again, we just got to keep whoever Michelle and Susan and whoever else get those questions answered, transparency, let people know the answers, and then, make the decision when the time is right. And if it is passed, much like other things that we talked about in this plan, in our master plan, if it's passed, we'll update the master plan. Yep, here we go. We got the CPA, and these are the things that we can do. And this will be the downstream effect of the CPA. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yes, so thank you both. We greatly appreciate it. You are absolutely more than welcome to oh, wait a minute, we have another question from Rita Garbutt.
I was talking to Sue. I think she's working with LakeCAM to try to have something on LakeCAM too. I don't know.
Yeah, we're working on a video right now and waiting for that, hopefully in the next few weeks. And then
we can direct people to that.
We'll put that on as well.
Great. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. And then another thing, we encourage people to go on to the Community Preservation Coalition's website. They have all sorts of information about community preservation on it. And they have one whole section that shows all the success stories of what towns have used these funds on. And it's amazing what different towns have used these funds for.
Great. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I know your time is valuable. Sue and Michelle, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, you're very welcome. And again, you're more than welcome to stay on if you would like to.
Okay, thank you.
All right, much appreciated. So moving forward, we'd like to discuss the design guidelines for the commercially zoned areas in town to ensure new development matches the community. So I did have a conversation with Mr. Knox about the design guidelines. They actually educate me. So in the master plan, and I will turn this over to Rita shortly, but in the master plan, we talk about design guidelines, and the design guidelines are triggered at certain points in the process. And a gross understanding of it for me is it's triggered on, I think architectural review is at 50% of the lot coverage. And then above that would then be a landscape architect review. One of the questions I have, that's great, architect review, that's wonderful. And this is, to be clear, for not for residential. This is for non-residential buildings, like the storage unit and others that are, you know, coming our way up on Main Street. So my question was, can we have design guidelines that have salient characteristics, very specific characteristics? And I've mentioned this before, I'll mention it again, like a Cape Cod style or a Nantucket style. So we automatically, when I say that, we already know what I'm talking about. So to have those defined, clearly defined design guidelines, in addition to the architectural review, to say, okay, we've got this review, but really we're looking for a specific look to keep that rural character here in Lakeville. So to that end, Rita, would you like to speak a little bit more to that, or?
Well, to follow up, I did forward everyone the page from the master plan.
Okay.
Which I was mistaken. I thought it needed town meeting vote, but it doesn't. The planning board just has to hold hearings for it.
Okay.
So I went on to, it mentions here to go look at Westport's and Carver Spring Street Innovation District. So I talked to the town administrator in Carver, because it's not, I couldn't find it online. So he's supposed to get those to me. And Westport, I looked at their site plan review. It wasn't very good. So I've been looking at all the Cape towns. It's taken me a little bit of time. Right. So at the next meeting, I'll have more information, and maybe this committee can forward it to the planning board, or Jack.
Yeah, Jack is a representative
right.
of the planning board. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Rita. And you know, again, we've talked about this ad nauseum since, what did we say, Rita? 2005, I think. It's
in our 2005 master plan.
Right. So 16 years we've been talking about it, and there's been no action. And we're not here to, you know, to beat anybody up about that at all, but action needs to be taken. And I think 16 years is a pretty long time to get some action taken. So we've met with people, we met with all the committees and boards that we needed to meet with. Obviously, our job is to implement the master plan, but there's so many moving parts to coordinate. And that's where, when we get into the matrix, I think, you know, it's going to help, like, who's going to coordinate these efforts. But you know, these things really need to start moving forward. So
can I ask you, Rodney, you said, so if it's only 50% lot coverage, there's no guidelines?
No, it's under 50%. Again, this is why I don't want to say concretely, but my understanding was, let me preface it. My understanding was the review, the architect review, is if the building is going to be, or take 50% of the lot coverage or greater, then the architect review is triggered. And then there's a certain percentage above that would then trigger a landscape architect review. So, like, as an example, the storage unit that's going to go next to the funeral home was not triggered because it's at 49% lot coverage.
So we have flat roofs.
So we have a flat roof, square box.
You do.
Right. That it's, and listen, whether we like it or not, and this is you know, it is what it is. I mean, these are the rules. They are well within their right. They're following the rules. Had they not followed the rules, they wouldn't have been issued the permit and been able to whether we like it or not. So, you know, hearing what we've heard over the years about building characteristics and all this, yet here we are in 2021, 16 years after the first mention of this, and nothing's done. So we would like, as a, you know, the citizens that we've talked to, we would like to get these designs, you know, implemented. And I know, God rest his soul, Zink, you know, would push back on it and say, well, it's gonna upset the developers and they wouldn't want to do business with us. And I remember having those conversations with him. And I said, no, that's not necessarily true. If we are open and honest and transparent, hey, here's Lakeville, this is what the citizenry wants, you know, then it is what it is. Do you have something, you know, that you could show us that might meet our design criteria? And we can't suppose what someone's going to do or not do. So if we have the guidelines, I am confident that people, when I say people, specifically developers that want to do business in Lakeville, they will take those under consideration and then present to us. And I don't know the actual protocols, but if it goes to the planning board or building, whoever, that they're going to say, here is what we come up with based on your requirements.
You know, Rodney, when you attended the planning board meeting a couple of weeks ago, you know, we talked about that subject matter. And,
yes.
I think a comment was made, but if you go to Hingham or Norwell or some of these other, or Duxbury, they do those kind of things.
I'll look at those towns, Jack.
Yeah.
Hingham, Duxbury.
Yeah. I understand that. I understand. I mean, they're in a different financial category, in all due respect, than Lakeville. But my point, and I after the meeting, I went and talked to Mark Knox, you know, privately over the phone, and I'm saying, I mean, I'm new to the town, I'm new to the planning board, so help me understand. We're having this conversation, and this, and this is now just coming up now, and they talked about the Walgreens pharmacy that's across from the funeral parlor. I mean, what happened there? And we talk about it, but in all due respect, I don't want to finger point to anybody for all the hard work that everybody does here, but I don't see any, you know, architectural modifications to anything, and it hasn't come up yet. And so I guess my point is, so what are we going to do about it?
I think the responsible party, and Rita, help me here. Who is the responsible party to implement such guidelines? Is it the planning board?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I would say to you, Jack, with all due respect,
I talked to Mark about it.
Instigate it, make it happen, whatever the procedural way is to get something done. And I know all of us are busy. These are all volunteer, you know, I get it. I get that we're busy, but you know, I can't, as this committee goes, again, we implement the plan, but I can't say to the planning board, you need to do this. That is outside my scope of responsibility and outside the scope of responsibility of this committee.
I understand that.
However, if you know, if there's an opportunity for a citizen or to petition the board, or I don't know, I'm just throwing stuff out there, an opportunity to go to the board and say, listen, this is what we would like. Is that an option? I don't know.
Well, you know, we've talked about it a couple of times in the planning board, and you know, Barbara Mankiewicz is a big proponent of this. And you know, once again, I'm a newcomer to all this, so I don't want to, you know,
Rita, we'll get to you in 1 sec.
Shake everybody up. But I guess my concern is, so when are we going to do something about this? When is the, you know, what's, I know we know the storage, you know, is one thing, and God knows what this new distribution center is going to look like if it ever gets off the ground. And what's going to happen to the building that's at the corner of 18 and 79? What's that going to look like?
Right.
Not to mention that place down the street, 18 there, that used to have the A-frame building, whatever that's going to be.
Yeah.
So what I would say, before I turn it over to Rita, what I would say to you is, as a member of the planning board that's on this committee,
Yep.
is take it back to the committee. Like, this is what we're discussing, you know, and as a representative, you know, as a member of this committee, you happen to be on the planning board, is to take the information back to the planning board and say, yet again, hey, listen, this is what, you know, came up again. How do we do this? So I look for solutions, you know, why can't we do something? No, I don't like that. It's how can we do this? It's been 16 years. What are the obstacles? What are the barriers? Is it, I don't know. I mean, I'm not on that committee, but if all things considered equal, I don't know. I honestly don't know how to get it done, but Rita, Rita, you have,
well, I was just gonna say, we're hiring a town planner. I don't know if Jack knows where it is in the process.
No.
But, you know, we've got a volunteer board. They need, you know, hopefully with a full-time person, we can get this done this year. The selectmen wanted to pursue this and have the planning board pursue it in 2021.
Right. We want this. The citizens want it, but we're not the ones who actually make it happen.
Right.
So we have a lot of people that want this to happen, but we're not in a position to make it happen. We're just not on the committee. So,
well, you know, I will assure you that I will continue as a member, the most junior member of the planning board, to raise the issue as these projects come up, saying, so, okay, what are we going to do about the design criteria here? We're going to just let them slap up another box, or what are we going to do about this? And so I will raise the issue. I assure you that.
Well, I think one of the items is lowering the lot coverage.
Right.
Or make it that any commercial building, but you're going to have some guideline design, architectural design for them, the developer to follow.
Yeah,
well,
there's got to be some guidelines set up. Yeah, and right now I don't believe there are any.
So thank you for that, Rita. And I think that's where I'm getting a little stuck is, yes, there's an architectural review predicated on lot coverage. I get that. So an architect reviews it. Maybe it's designed by an architect. Well, that's great. But architects, and I know architects, knowing architects, if they don't have a guideline, they have free reign. They're artists. That's what they do. They design. But if we give them the parameters, say, listen, here are the salient characteristics. These are the things that we need in the design. Then you go design it and then present it and see if it fits within the guidelines.
I agree.
You know, I'm not asking for, you know, Frank Lloyd Wright or anything, but.
I'm going to call Serped too. I know that Jed Cornock left Serped, but I'm going to call Grant King and find out, see what that will probably save me a lot of time. I just thought of that.
Yeah, don't recreate the wheel. If we have something that we like, we can tweak it to, you know, to Lakeville. All right. Any comments, Jim? Yes, please.
Yeah, the one thing that, I mean, we're asking, when are they going to do it? Well, how are they going to do it? Whatever. The whole thing, when we start looking at this things, we developed and identified a potential strategy point. The next thing is to turn it over to the planning board and say, okay, what is your strategy? And we have to take a little bit more affirmative approach, but, you know, to assist our member at the planning board. You know, somewhere online, town administrator is going to help.
Yes.
And, you know, set it up. But we need to be asking to meet our requirement, because we put some deadlines on it. We developed it. Is there a strategy you're going to come up with? What's the timeline? What are some of the thoughts that are going to be into it? It can't happen overnight.
No.
And if we just sit there and ask, you know, poor Jack, you know, when's it going to be done and how you're going to do it, it doesn't help him or us. We've got to talk about what's Jack's strategy. What's the planning board strategy?
I agree, but you know,
it might be 2 years, but at least there's a plan on paper.
Right.
If someone says, okay, we're going to do this now, when the new man comes on, a new person comes on, sorry me about that, but the new person comes on, you know, one of their jobs is to develop a short-term strategy on how to get there. But we got to start talking about the path to get there, not just how we're going to do it and who's going to do it, because that's not going to help any of us.
Fair enough.
Sorry for my speech.
No, please listen. This is I encourage a dialogue because we're a team, and I think as such we all come with different experiences and different different opinions, which is great, and I think that's what makes us a great committee, to be honest with you. So, right, strategies and again, we got Ari's not here tonight, unfortunately, but if we get that town planner. Right. I think that's going to help us a great deal because they might be able to help with the strategy and to steer the strategy and the timelines.
It might also be good when we get the town planner in. What are the priorities that the planning board has and the selectmen have for that person? Because getting an artistic design level may fall down as an objective number 15, not objective number 1. So we sort of have to know that too. Okay. So when that person gets on board, it would be good for them to come in and let's sit down and talk about what their plan, what the town's plan is. And it would help us in the future.
Like going back to my conversation with Mark, and once again, I'm not being critical of anyone and all the people that worked in the past years and all this for the town, but I guess my question is, what happened 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? It doesn't seem like, I said, I can't believe this subject matter is just coming up now. What happened back when you put up Walgreens? And, and he said, that the subject matter came up and things didn't happen. So here we are. So, I mean, hopefully we can get things to happen now.
That's part of it. I have a firm philosophy when I do things. I don't ask what happened in the past because that's not going to do me any good. Yeah. If I didn't learn from the past, I better start learning today.
Right. So that's my point. I said, okay, so what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay. Any other comments? Questions? Okay, appreciate it. All righty. So now agenda item 5, discuss the updates to the master plan implementation chart. So the chart was sent over to Ari Sky for some updates on the lead parties or I think it was just lead parties and or other responsible parties. So this was forwarded, it was edited and then returned. So we should all have the same matrix that was sent out by Rita. And excuse me. So part of the reason for the update in essence was the Board of Selectmen had voiced some concern about responsibilities. I call it bandwidth. Who has the bandwidth to do this and are they the appropriate responsible party? So a lot of the lead parties in the matrix, being the selectmen or the town coordinator, excuse me, has been now changed over to town planner. And that's quite a few, quite a few of those. So the town coordinator position, of course, is no longer. And then there are some lead parties that were changed from the town coordinator to town planner, and also the assistant to the town administrator. Some of them were changed to Conservation Commission as an example. Do we want me to share the screen and show people, or?
Well, there were 52 changes, Rodney.
No, yeah, I knew there was a lot. I didn't realize there were 52. So I can share it for the, for the people at home. So let me see if I can do this correctly. Okay. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Hey, it worked. Okay. So for those at home that are first-time viewers or people that have been following this for a long time, this is the matrix that we've referenced now for a very long time. And so the reference has, the matrix, we have the columns up here that says exactly what it is, the status, the goal, the strategy. So the goal is the master plan goal. So if you look at the master plan and then you look at the matrix, this column B is what correlates to the plan. Same goes for the strategies. We talk about complementary actions, and then we start getting into really a little bit of the meat and potatoes, if you were. So we talk about the main steps, the lead parties, other responsible parties, talked about state and federal programs, and needed or recommended partnerships. So what I was referencing and Rita was referencing earlier about the 52 changes really comes here in column F and some in G. So you see that the change, excuse me? Did someone have something to say?
I think they coughed.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't hear. Okay, thank you. So in column F about the lead party, we can see that and highlighted in yellow is now, it's planning board and now town planner. Okay. So again, 52 changes. Some of them over here where, the additional. Okay. So over here on the left, which I think is important too, and Jim Rogers, after we had first met, this committee met after a very long hiatus, came back and we were pleasantly surprised, albeit surprised, but pleasantly surprised at how many accomplishments there were. So this is something that's important too for the people of Lakeville to understand that, this kind of puts on paper what we've done as way of accomplishments. We still have a long way to go, of course, but we've done a lot. And I got to say, I'm pretty proud of everyone that's worked so hard for so long to get these things done. We did have a meeting with the Senator Rodericks and State Rep Oral recently, and I participated in the selectmen's meeting several months ago that they also participated in. Now, this most recent one that we had with them, which was really good, came out that there is state and federal support programs available. And this is where they come in as politicians, that they might have that opportunity to get us some of the funding on some of the goals that we have. So that was actually a pretty good outcome of that meeting. Pretty happy about that. But anyway, so again, for the folks at home, just wanted to show this to you. This articulates, it's a huge document. I'm not going to go through all of it, but suffice it to say, this is the document that we would like to get into your hands sooner rather than later. Now that will come, I hope, shortly, but we want to make sure that this is accurate and it'll help track the progress. So I'd like to stop there for a moment. Does anybody have any questions on this committee about this matrix? Yes, Rita.
I'm not quite sure if the committee needs to vote on the 52 changes. I'm thinking I could ask Ari, but I think it needs to go back to the Board of Selectmen before we put it on the website. I don't know what you think that we should do.
Yeah, so my understanding was just that. It's, I don't believe we need to take a vote because we had discussions in the past about responsible parties. It's more, the changes were made because, again, the town coordinator position is no more. Mm-hmm. And a lot of, so that was, stricken from the matrix and then replaced with those 52 changes. So procedurally, if we have to take a vote, we absolutely can. I don't see any harm in it. If it's required, then absolutely we'll do it. If not, then I would say if everyone has had the opportunity to review and they are in agreement, then we can get it in the hands of the selectmen. So, and then have them make, you know, give it their blessing, and then we could get it out to the public.
And I think we need to have Ari distribute it to all the boards and committees.
Yes.
And then we need to start, I guess, meeting, say with historical, conservation, or a representative from each
Correct.
committee.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And again, once the town planner comes on, now I do understand there's an active recruitment for the position of town planner. So once that is complete and the town planner is onboarded, this in, you know, the conversations I've had with Ari, and he has, you know, said to us here that they're going to start working on it pretty short order. And I think that's going to really take a lot of pressure off a lot of people, where we have that one central person to, you know, to help guide. So, okay. Any comments or observations about this other than what's been discussed? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. All right, so new business. Is there any new business?
Well, so I'll get in touch with Ari to see what he wants us to do.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. All righty. So not hearing any new business other than get in touch with Ari. Is there any old business that needs to come before the board, the committee? Hearing none. Is there any other business that may properly come before the meeting? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn. Rita got it.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, aye. Rodney Dixon, aye.
Jim Rogers, aye.
Jack Lynch, aye.
Joe Chamberlain, aye.
Rita.
Thank you very much. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all again for a great meeting. I